Practice resurrection. When I read the passage in Genesis about Noah and the ark, and I try to imagine such a massive starting over, such a time of questioning and soul-searching, I do not have to look too far for a few parallels, albeit tiny ones compared to the saga of the flood. My family and I know more than most of our peers these days about how a familiar and beloved landscape can be devastated and erased, and what it feels like to start living in a place all over again. We reside on a remote parcel of land at the far northeast tip of Great Slave Lake, fifth largest lake in North America, 300 kilometers out from Yellowknife. By June of 2014, the vast landscape of the Northwest Territories was tinder dry. A few days before the summer solstice, a swath of storms swept east out of the Mackenzie River Valley, but those thunderheads delivered only energy in the form of lightning, with little or no rain. Thousands of strikes ignited hundreds of fires, and dozens of those fires found momentum to build and coalesce, and the flames began to run wildly downwind. On Canada Day, at least 60 uncontrolled wildfires were burning east and north of Yellowknife, and some of them were threatening small communities. Firefighting crews, planes, and equipment were all stretched to the limit, and gusty winds were in the forecast. By late afternoon of July 4th, the fire front nearest to our homestead had swept in and incinerated our family home and everything in it. No people were injured. 2 loyal sled dogs perished. A hastily assembled crew of neighbors and a long-awaited firefighting team managed to save some of our buildings, and by 2 a.m. on one of those subarctic nights of endless sunlight, the danger was subsiding and the fire front had swept off to the west. 2 mornings later we awoke alone here, the fire crew and neighbors long gone. The lingering smoke had combined with a pea-soup fog pushing inland from the icy waters of the lake. We could not even see across from the little cabin where we slept to the log walls of the workshop 15 feet away. That heavy soup of smoke and fog was exactly how we felt that day, fogged in, smoked out, and dazed, with no clear path and no clear direction. Had the smoke and fog been an endless sea of floodwater, Noah and his people would have recognized the scene. That was 6.5 years ago, and from here it would be easy to make this just a cozy little parable of regrowth, rebuilding, and a timely Lenten metaphor for the many forms of resurrection we all witness. And that would be okay, I guess, in its cozy way, but it bears mentioning that the real path and the real story are a lot more complex, a lot grittier, as real paths and real stories always are. Our pastor recently reminded me that Jesus probably still had dirt from the cross under his fingernails when he walked out of the sepulchre. Rebirth and starting over are messy and grueling. Just ask Noah, the fellow over there, across a few millennia, mopping the deck of the ark and scratching his head. In the aftermath of our own loss, help came quickly. Supplies and gifts arrived, airplanes and a barge load, young and energetic helpers. Everything from the proverbial socks and underwear to a fancy mattress and a wheelbarrow. I remember remarking to our pastor that this certainly seemed to be a first world problem, considering the dire straits of many other stricken people around the globe. Yes, he said, it is a first world problem, but that doesn't mean it's not still a problem. It was all overwhelming at times, and on many days my own motto was, well, I just need to make it till lunch. Then dinner time, then sleep, and tomorrow will be another new day. Over the years of rebuilding and weary bootstrap lifting, the phrase, I'm just trying to make it to lunch, became kind of a mantra around here. Code words for hang in there, maybe the rainbow is still coming. Noah again. In the weeks after the fire, we sent out a written message to friends and family near and far, and at the end of that missive, I inserted a wonderful poem by Kentuckian Wendell Berry called Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. The poem ends with a simple admonition: practice resurrection. My mother liked the ring of that line, and she had it engraved on a loaf-sized chunk of granite. This arrived by mail, and we set it up on a shelf in the workshop where it sat in plain sight over the coming years of confusion, contemplation, gradual cohesion, and reconstruction. At first, after the fire, surrounded by ash and death, we wondered if we could even stay here, and more to the point, whether we even wanted to stay. After a year or so, we had decided we would try. We would try to practice a little resurrection. And so we have. We are still here. Still, I am not going to let myself get too cozy or warm or fuzzy about all of this. The landscape here nowadays on a gray winter day is nothing anyone would be tempted to call beautiful. Downed and standing dead burnt trees dominate the snow-covered scene in every direction, in a monochrome that is without color or even sound on many a winter day. And winters here are 6 months long. Easy platitudes about wildfire being nature's marvelous path to renewal, happy odes to the verdant greens of rebirth, all ring a little hollow when a wall of flame sweeps across a valley of 200-year-old timber and leaves decades of blackened, jumbled chaos in its wake. 1 year ago, on the coldest day of winter, we moved out of the log workshop that had been hidden in the fog and smoke of that long-ago morning, and which had then become our home for 5.5 years. Up to the new house, one by one, we moved all the things a house needs to contain, from plates to books, bedspreads to dish towels. Things, the fire taught us, will be always and forever only that, things, just stuff, here today, gone tomorrow. One of the things we carried up from the workshop was that chunk of stone with its edict. It sits here now in the new cabin, surrounded by walls built of logs, felled and milled from the burned forest the fire left behind. A funny thing has happened recently, though, when I look at that rock. I have started to make practice an adjective instead of an imperative verb. As in, oh, that was just a practice resurrection.